Oh, well, hi there, folks. Welcome back. And this is another one of our presentations where we just have a chat with one of our great speakers at the Membership Success Summit, which you can attend for free on the 29th and 30th of this month. And also we'll have it running on the 1st of October, but that's a paid ticket. But on the 29th and 30th, you can join live with us, totally free. Like I say, go to the membershipsuccesssummit.com and you can just sign up there. I've got Sylvia here. She's going to be one of our great presenters. She's going to be talking about maximize your income with niche communities. Sounds a really interesting subject. I'm going to let you introduce yourself and then maybe give some of your background and why you chose this particular topic. Over to you.
All right, thank you very much. So, my name is Sylvia LeRahl, and I have been helping mental health therapists or mental health professionals and coaches and a few kind of outliers build membership programs for over a decade now. And, I've looked at the kind of the places where people get stuck and the places where people are just struggling or where they can really maximize their impact. And consistently, I have noticed that one element is kind of, I don't want to say missing, but it's not as strong as it could be. And in this time and day, I really feel like we need to focus on that. And that is the element of community. So it's been amazing to watch the trajectory and see how memberships 3 years ago didn't even exist in most people's vocabulary. And I'm sure you've probably seen that as well, Jonathan, where, at least when I would be talking to people, it would be, what's membership? Is that a get rich quick scheme? And, all these different things. And Facebook banned me several times because I used the word membership and,
God, you can't do that, can you?
Yes. And, it's people just had no idea what this term meant. So just even to be in this place is really exciting in my mind. However, then COVID hit and everybody came out of the woodwork. Now we have, experts and coaches and consultants and all these people all over the place. And memberships, thankfully, are taking off, which is awesome. The piece of that, though, that I really, really feel is critical, and like I was saying, was kind of lacking, let's say, is that community element. And because of COVID, people are so isolated right now. And, we're starting to come out of the woodwork and, and whatnot. But nevertheless, just a little tiptoes for some of us. But nevertheless, it really emphasized kind of this collective feeling of loneliness. When I speak to people, that's what I hear over and over. And even if you are coming out of the woodwork and you are socializing, or maybe you never stopped, there still is this pervading feeling of like, I'm kind of alone. And what does that mean? And what's my role? And all these kind of existential questions are coming up as well. So my emphasis for this presentation is really on that community aspect. And when I say that, I'm talking getting people together, getting them to know one another, helping them hold accountability to each other and hold space for one another. And how do we do that? How do we do that within a membership program? Because it's a really important element to memberships, but it's often overlooked. We just think it's naturally going to happen. So, I am just really, really excited, again, in part because of my passion for mental health. And, that sense of isolation and loneliness really does play into our mental health. But I just want to really help people to feel connected, to get better results, to hear from other people, know that they're not alone in whatever it is the membership is about, whether that's, gaming or if that's about trauma or, anything, whatever the topic is.
Yeah, it's really fantastic subject because today, with my discussions with some of the other speakers, it's been all about community today because this morning I had over our discussion with Morton Henderson, the lead instructor and trainer at LinkedIn Learning. He's going to be one of our keynote speakers on the second day. He is a personal friend of mine. and just an amazing educator and individual that must have trained or influenced over a couple 100,000 plus people. But he was talking about community. We got and about also about you've got to understand that obviously you've got to use other people's platforms like YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, but you've got to understand who you're playing with. That you really need your own platform. You need your own core of the hub of the wheel, because like what you just mentioned jokingly, that you can be kicked off Facebook, you could be demonetized on YouTube, all sorts of things can happen. So that's why if you've got your own community, your own tribe on your own area, that can never be. And the other point that Moulton says, that whenever you build any kind of market leadership and you're successful, other people will pile in to copy what you're doing, but they can't copy who you are, and they can't copy your core message. What's your thoughts about what I've just outlined?
100% spot on. I mean, it's just, it's you. And, let's say you were on another platform. Okay. There's a lot of different platforms, like you said, that are out there. Even if that platform shut down, let's say they shut down altogether, or they closed you out or something. If you have that community and you've built those relationships, people can't take that away from you. Whatever the platform is, they can't take that away. Your people will still want you. They will still want each other. And so you can take that to a different place. And I think that's a beautiful, beautiful point.
We also seen, it is tricky though, but I saw the rise of social media, and I saw a lot of so-called experts say that email and newsletters and email lists, they were finished. They're done. They're gone. It's all going to be social media. Yet newsletters, email lists and newsletters have just roared back, because I think people realise that your own website and your own newsletter list are two things that these other platforms can't take away from you. And it's just surprising. But sometimes things do die, and they die very quickly, but other things, they die down and they come back. And it's tricky to make that judgment, isn't it?
Absolutely. None of us have, well, as far as I know, none of us have a crystal ball to predict that. And so we play it by ear, but what works for one person doesn't work for another person, perhaps. And so when somebody comes up and they say, oh, well, this, whatever this is dead, it means that it didn't work for them. That's all it means in my mind, Yeah. And so you're a different person than I am. I have gifts that you don't have. You have gifts I don't have, whatever. Maybe email works for one of us and, podcast works for the other. Who knows? But it doesn't mean that it won't work for anybody. Or that it will work for anybody.
I think that was a fantastic insight, Sylvia, and something that we just don't, what you've just said. The other thing is, sometimes you got to know when to give up, but generally, most people give up too early, don't they? They expect results too quickly, and they don't realise the amount of effort and time they're going to give to themselves to really understand their medium or a communication style. Is that what you find with a lot of your clients and the people you're advising?
Oh, absolutely. It's amazing how many people, they get really excited about a program. In fact, this is something I bring up in my presentation. They get really excited about any sort of, strategy or platform or whatever, and they're in it to win it, so to speak, and, very gung-ho. And then all of a sudden, things don't pan out within the first 3 months, 6 months, even a year. And so it's like, oh, that sucks, that coach sucks, or that platform sucks, or that strategy it doesn't work. And so then they go buy a new one, and it's just this constant cycle. But you can't build an empire, or you can't build a skyscraper overnight, right? You need to build that foundation. And the bigger the business that you want to build, the bigger foundation you need. Again, to use that analogy of the skyscraper, you want to build a skyscraper, you need a bigger foundation, which takes longer and more resources.
The other thing I found, which encompasses on day one and day two. On day one, I envision day one about not solely, but to frame around this concept that I find a lot of people, we will build it and an audience will come. And they're not at all coming unless you've got a big following already on some other platform. Nobody's coming. You got to build your tribe, your niche tribe, as I call it. And I've been told off a couple of times by utilizing the word tribe, but I can't help it. Or I won't help it. Maybe that's the correct thing. You got to have your tribe. It doesn't have to be an enormous tribe. It just got to be a passionate tribe of people that really like your content, what you're saying, what you're doing online, for you to be able to sell a course to your tribe, really. Would you? And then the second day, it's about what I call people get really hanged up about choosing the perfect platform. And the truth is that you should do a bit of research, because a certain platform will have certain key elements that you're really looking for, and some won't. But there is no perfect platform out there. No. So that was a two-part question about day one and about day two. What's your thoughts about that, Sylvia?
Yeah, great points. And I think those are definitely worth kind of focusing on. So to your first question, I call it divine timing, so to speak. And that is, it can be the right strategy at the wrong time. And we do that often. People do that often. Maybe, for instance, you want to write a book and you have no following. Well, who are you going to sell that book to? Same thing with a course or whatever. They don't just magically wander your way, So it's not that building a course or writing a book or whatever else, that's a bad strategy. It's just not the right time for you to enact that strategy. And so it's really important that you build those relationships with people before you try to launch this massive thing,
Just to remark on that, another thing, and it's changed a bit because paid online advertising has become very expensive. Facebook, Google, LinkedIn. LinkedIn has always been extraordinarily expensive. You got Twitter, you got TikTok, but they're a bit out there. But the two main ones, Google and Facebook, there. So what you used to hear was, who's your audience? I always used to hear, we're going to do a Facebook campaign.
Right.
And I always felt, what you're telling me is you haven't got any strategy. You haven't built a tribe. That's what you're saying to me, really, isn't it? It's the answer. It's the easy answer, but it isn't an answer at all, I don't think. What's your response to that?
Oh, yeah, 100%. It's like throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping it sticks, right? As though if you put a few dollars into it, all of a sudden it's going to be a strategy, it's going to be something that works for you. And that is, as you know, that's not the way that the real world works. You need to be a lot more strategic about it. You need to, again, you cannot escape the fact that you need to actually build relationships with people. You need to prove your cred, so to speak. And, now more than ever, people are skeptical. They're hesitant to spend their money. They look online for reviews and they trust one another for, sort of all of that thing. If you just come across as just a robot out there in Facebook land, well, you're going to be treated like a robot in Facebook land. The caveat being, if you do have a huge following, Facebook ads or any of these ads can be really great, but you need to have a following first, as far as I'm concerned. Don't go blowing a bunch of money, on that unless you actually have somebody that's going to pay attention. And as I wanted to go back to your other question about the platform too, is, there's no magic place that's going to make you $1 million just because you showed up. As much as I would love to have that, I'd be a great affiliate for them, I promise. But it doesn't work like that. For the most part, there's some exceptions. For the most part, they kind of all do the same sort of thing, with a few different twists or turns.
Well, it's a bit like some of the leading sasses. Like, let's take an example, Kajabi, and when it comes to the more social replacement to Facebook groups or to a Slack channel, Mighty Networks, they both have real strengths, but they also have strong weaknesses. When it comes to WordPress and its alternatives, it has different weaknesses but different strengths. Absolutely. And you just got to have enough knowledge, or you've got to hire somebody that can advise you, somebody like yourself, because you can waste a lot of time. And I've seen it. I've seen people still, after 6 months, still trying to find this perfect solution. Where what they really need is a matrix of key things that they require, and they just got to find whatever platform that meets the most of their major requirements, but understand they're not going to find something that will meet all what they're looking for. What do you feel about that?
Absolutely. And kind of, it reminds me of the idea of, like, if you go out and you're looking for, a mate, you're looking for a spouse, right?
As a man, I'm so happy that
you were thinking that, weren't you?
I'm so tempted, but I thought, I'm not going down that rabbit hole. I'll leave it to you. Go on, sorry.
Leave it to me. Absolutely. I will take us down that. But you're not going to find the perfect person or the perfect tool or the perfect strategy, the perfect coach, whatever. Everything has its strengths and weaknesses. I think, though, that a reason in part for people to do that shopping, whatever it is, whether it's the platform, whether it's a tool, whether it's a coach, whatever, is that A, they're afraid of failure, and B, they're afraid of success. And so, shopping around for months on end gives them a great excuse not to actually risk failure or success.
I've had 2 clients of ours that got fantastic. That one is no longer with us, and the other one. So I've got to be a bit careful because I don't want to be identified who I'm talking about. But they've got great knowledge of their area, their niche. They do have a community, and they've built actually a good course. And it's been possible in both instances that come to mind when you were talking, that they could have gone live, they could have launched, and one never did, and they actually died before they launched. And the other one's been going for over 18 months, and they still add stuff. They're building out marketing funnels and automatizations, and they haven't even launched, Sylvia. They haven't even launched, and they're paying for consultation about funnels and about marketing automatizations and all sorts of things. And I wondered, but I have come to the conclusion that you're spot on. It stops them from finding that it won't work. It isn't a success. I think it would be, because they've got all the elements. So I think you've come across that, because you brought it up. You've come across that quite a bit then, I presume.
Absolutely. I mean, an integral part of my program is mindset coaching. I started the program with mindset coaching in place, and that is a big part of it. Is, people are afraid, they have imposter syndrome, which which ties in directly with this idea that they're going to fail, and the other side of that coin is that they're going to succeed, and both are terrifying. A lot of my clients don't necessarily articulate that those are their fears. They get around to it, kind of. I did have one client who just a couple weeks ago wrote me this she confided in me that, she goes, you know what? I'm really scared this is going to take off and everybody's going to know my name, and then I'm going to be critiqued, and I'm going to be, and it makes sense. It's true.
Yeah,
you will be,
Yeah.
And so you have to build that resilience and that kind of that protective wall, if you want to call it that, because you will be critiqued, you will be insulted.
Well, it's tricky being a therapist or something. It's just tricky. You don't want, well, some people don't, they're psychopaths or sociopaths, but most of us, it's tricky because it won't be beneficial for us if we don't care at all. But on the other hand, we can't, if we're going in front on the internet, we can't be too upset about criticism, can we?
No.
And that's tricky, isn't it? It's a tricky balance about, I think it's a tricky balance. There was another way I was going to go. So when it comes to your actual presentation, what is one or two things that you would love when you get feedback from your presentation, that you would like people to take from it, that you would hear people saying, that you felt that they got the core message that you wanted to get across?
That's a beautiful question. I would say, first and foremost, I want people to come up to really understand the importance of building a community. That even if your course is not great, or whatever, your content isn't fantastic, if you can provide a place where people feel connected, where they feel supported, where they feel wanted and included, all of those things, you have made a ginormous impact on this world. And I consider you a success because you've made a difference in somebody's life. That to me is first and foremost. The second thing is you can make a massive amount of money doing that. And I want it to be clear that it's very ethical to do so.
Yeah.
Because you're transforming lives. You are transforming lives. And, every day I'm on the phone with people and they're saying, they're expressing to me, I have never felt this depressed or this sad or this scared or this lonely or whatever, all these different words. And they want somewhere to connect. So it's really powerful, but it does take work. It's not a matter of just sticking a bunch of people in a room and saying, go. It does not work. There has to be, I guess I'm going on number 3, sorry. But third thing is you need to have a system for making that successful. Just
yes,
people doesn't work, and that's, I think that's going to be a takeaway from this whole conference or this whole summit is, you need to have processes, systems in place. It's not all just about, it's going to happen because I said it's going to happen, or I put my name on the internet and have created a website. It does not work like that. So please be intentional in what you're doing.
Yeah, and the reason, one of the things I'm really passionate, and me and Morton discussed this, is that through what I call e-learning, I think whatever your membership website, it's for a coach, what is called a influencer. It's got a certain, and I'm so happy that Neil Schaffner agreed to be on our first day to be our second keynote, because he truly is what I call a very English term, a London term, a monster. He really is a monster when it comes to social media and building influence. And influence, I'm an influencer. It's got a certain connotation now, but building influence and influencing people is part of the human condition, isn't it?
Yeah.
At work, socially, there's certain people that you listen to everybody reasonably politely, unless they're a total bore or idiot.
Right.
There's some people you really listen. You know, a lot of people, it goes in one ear, you listen a little bit, and then it goes out the other, doesn't it? Especially when there's nothing between, like me, there's nothing there really. But there's other people, when you have a conversation with them, you really listen because you really appreciate who they are, what they are, and you think they've got some real insights for you, and you listen, don't you?
Yeah. And I think, to add to that, you know that they care. They care about you,
Yes.
Which can't be overstated in my mind. That's a huge part of it too. Yeah.
I think it's been a great discussion. I'm really looking forward to your presentation. Like I say, please join us. Like I say, it's on the 29th and 30th of September. It starts at around 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if you're on the East Coast, it's not too early. The 2 day, well, I go to bed reasonably early, but I get up really early. But I've got a business partner, John Locke, and he's a night owl. So it works out because I'm around in the morning and he's around in the evening. So when we're dealing with clients, it works quite well because he won't be up at. He's up at 9, but it's not totally functioning because he's still working at 3 a.m. in the morning. So we all have different ways, but please join us. It's going to be fab. Like I say, it's totally free to watch for those 2 days. We have got a third day, which you can pay. It's a very reasonable $147. And we've got more instructional coaching kind of sessions for the third day. Plus, we've got some amazing prizes that are going to be given away by our sponsors on the third day. Plus, you'll be able to watch all the presentations for over a year after the event. So it's a fantastic value proposition. And Neil Schaffner will be doing a session at the beginning of the third day, and he will be showing you how to do influencing marketing and social media and a couple of the tools, and he will be showing you his own systems and how he does it, which normally he charges. To say that this is a very valued proposition is a slight understatement because he has no shortage of people giving him considerable amounts of money for his knowledge. So I think that's fantastic, and I had to really persuade him to do that, but he's a friend. And the other thing, the other keynote speaker for the second day that I'm so appreciative that he agreed is Rob Rowling, the joint founder of Drip, which they sold about 3 years ago for $20 million. And he's a personal friend, and so is his wife. And he agreed. I asked, and he agreed. He's an extremely busy man. And the reason I asked him, folks, is that I believe the bootstrap startup community, some of minimum viable products, getting your first students, building your first viable course, getting your first students in, testing it, refining it, re-rinse. A lot of this has all been worked out by the startup community. And I think from a real expert like Rob, you're going to learn a lot. So when I pitched it to him and he understood where I was coming from, he bought into it and he agreed to do it as well. So we have got some fantastic. Oh, by the way, we got David, the CEO of Meetup, presenting as well. Another friend that I asked. So we've got some amazing speakers like yourself, Sylvia, haven't we?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to watch everybody as well.
That'd be great. We'll see you soon, folks. Bye.
Bye.